Whenever you're ready. You ready?
I'm ready.
Born ready. Cool. Would you like to know how you can pimp your presentation and design your own PowerPoint slides like a pro? If so, ladies and gentlemen, then you better stick around, because at the end of this presentation, you will know how to create high-performing slides, which will convert and give you the influence you need to win in business. You will know the basic principles of designing slides for e-learning, where to find and how to use the world's best images. No fluff, but only what you need to know about copyright law, and how to design a killer front cover in less than 5 minutes. Ash Pemberton, also known as the PowerPoint millionaire, because he has designed over 1 million slides for global enterprise businesses, is in the house today. The presentations he has designed over the past 14 years have led to tens of millions of dollars, new business wins from the world's biggest, best brands such as GSK, PepsiCo, Unilever, Pfizer, British Airways, Mark Inc., Heineken, Lego, Vodafone, HSBC, Tesco, Bayersdorf, and Carlsberg. You name it, Ash has been there. Ash is the founder of Overnight Design, which is a graphic design agency which turns over $500,000 per year. The PowerPoint millionaire and agency boss has over 25 years of experience as a PowerPoint designer who is now living the dream in Chiang Mai in Thailand and is an advocate of the 4-hour work week. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of Online Course Talks. My name is Tina Dahm, and I'm the founder of From Idea to Course, Sold Out Programs, and the Hero Method, and your host here on Online Course Talks, the largest and most impactful summit on online course creation. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are in for another absolute treat. Let's welcome our legendary Ash Pemberton.
Oh my
Welcome,
word,
Ash.
what an intro. You have made my day. That's the best intro I've ever had. Thank you so much, Tina.
Oh, really? Oh, you're welcome.
Well, I did
Welcome.
write
Thank
it.
you so much. What's that?
I said, well, I did write it.
Thank you so much for being here with us today, Ash.
My pleasure.
So, awesome. Thank you for taking the time. You mentioned you had some connections to the Deutsche Bank and to the Royal Bank of Scotland and things like that. So what exactly happened there, and why should we all know about this?
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. It was a long time ago when I lived in London. I used to work for big investment banks in central London, basically because they were the ultimate place to get a job as a PowerPoint designer. They used to pay a lot more money, but they had a big demand. So Deutsche Bank in particular had a 24/7 presentation team that would design presentations for everywhere around the globe, extremely tight deadlines, extremely consistent design, using really advanced templates. So that's really where I learned my craft and where I started earning some decent money as a PowerPoint designer.
That's really awesome. You have designed over 1 million slides. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, thank you. I've got to tell you, that's not just me, that's me and my team. And that's really been over the past 14 years. We get sent between 10 and 20 presentations every single day to design up. The reason why I love PowerPoint design is my clients use them, and then the next day they write some new content and they need it doing over and over again. So it's like a long-term relationship that we have with mainly management consultants, but also corporate clients.
That's really awesome. Could you give our audience a little bit of background on how this all started and how this all evolved over the years?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I actually sat next to a lady at a wedding, and she was pregnant, and she said, would you be interested in doing my job? I work for a management consultancy and I'm quitting. And I was like, sure, I'll give it a go. And I will always remember that first month I earned about £300, and it was a real slog, and they didn't send me much work. I used to have to work from my kitchen. At the time I was living in Stoke Newington in London, and they would bike me over flip charts, and I'd literally have to type up all of these outputs from meetings and just make them look reasonably presentable in a PowerPoint chart. And I was thinking, I'm not really sure this is the job for me. But actually, when you start on a project at that early stage, you're then involved all the way through. So those notes would turn into presentations, which would turn into workshops, which would turn into, you know, pictures for more business. So it's a really great introduction to working with some really impressive clients. And then after freezing myself off in my kitchen in London, I decided to move to Thailand, and I took my clients and my job with me. And honestly, I didn't have the foresight to know exactly what was going to happen, but utilizing that time difference, being 6 or 7 hours ahead of your client, just exploded me and exploded my business. And like I said, I fluked it a bit. I just wanted to be in the sun, and I wanted to be by the beach. And sort of within about 6 months, I was 5 times more in demand, being a PowerPoint designer. People were like, well, this guy does it overnight. So send him your work as late as midnight and you get it back at 8 a.m. the next day. So that service just took off. And as a result of that, I've always had the philosophy that I hate to say no to work, because to me that's saying no to money. And, you know, I wanted to support my lifestyle here. So it wasn't long before I thought I need to build a team. So I built a small remote team, myself and one other. But with the nature of this work, I really wanted to have 5 graphic designers in-house. So I could, you know, literally put my arm around them and guide them and support them and help them, because it can be quite a tricky job designing presentations if you don't know what you're doing or you don't really understand it. So at that point, I thought, move to Chiang Mai, find some Thai talent, set up an agency, and the rest is history.
That's really awesome. I've got 2 questions for you before we move on to the actual teaching part, which I'm sure many people out there are excited, because that's why you're here today. So why do you think your business exploded overnight? Because of the, obviously because of the time zone, but why do you think is that? Does your ideal customer, like the corporate management consultants, do they hand in stuff last minute, or do they prepare their presentations last minute? Why does that work so well?
Yeah, definitely they are last minute people. Every single day they are doing presentations. So let's say that they're at a workshop, or they're doing some training, which now would be remote, but in those days was face-to-face. They would finish with the client as late as 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. They'd probably spend an hour themselves scribbling it up, typing it up. They'd send it to me, and I would, not working on the content at all, because they're the subject matter experts. I would design it and make sure that it's on brand, you know, so it uses the right images, it uses the correct use of logo, it's beautifully designed. So they'd get that back the next morning, and their clients could not believe, it's like, you only left us at 9 o'clock and all of your work's been done. How do you do this? So it was really about making them look good in front of their clients. And by doing it in PowerPoint, it allows you to make any, well, it allows my clients, my consultancy clients, to make any last minute tweaks and changes, or any structural changes, copying and pasting. They can do it all themselves. Whereas if we were designing in Adobe, or we were publishing as PDFs or on the web, every single amend they would need to come back to me for. So it really sets them up to be the hero. And I'm very happy with making them look good, because it pays well.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
What gets you so, yeah, go on.
I was going to say, they're also extremely good subject matter experts. Like, they're clever, intelligent people that often have been to Oxford or Cambridge University. They're consulting at a very high level. If they spend an hour doing their own PowerPoint presentation, the cost of that is really high. They can get sort of 5 hours of my Thai design team, who are professional designers and should be doing that work. So 1 hour of their time is about 5 hours of our time, and we do a better job. And it means that they can relax, go and enjoy your dinner, you know, get themselves ready for the next day, and just outsource your presentation work. Shouldn't be doing it yourselves.
Such a great idea. I just love it so much. It's really good. What gets you fired up so much about designing slides, pimping slides?
Yeah, you know what? I can answer that, because in the last couple of years, I stopped being hands-on, and it left me a bit empty. Actually, I realized that it is my craft. I mean, it's not much. Well, I say it's not much. People say, oh, you don't realize how much knowledge you have, which is kind of why I'm inspired to give it away on a course like this. You know, teach people what I know, because to me, it just comes a second nature because I've been doing it so long. But other people tell me, oh, this is just gold, you know, like the insights that you can give us and just some of the tips and hints and your experiences. So it's about just applying that. That's what gets me going. I did quite a lot of self-awareness courses recently since I've joined the DC, and this during COVID, I had a bit of a low. So I really evaluated what makes me happy, what brings me joy. And it is applying my craft. You know, I like to paint a real positive vision for the future. And I do that with PowerPoint slides, or I do that with like a branded or a visual communication and nice typography. It's just, that's what I'm good at. That's what I enjoy doing. And when I do it for other people, they're like, oh, this is amazing. You know, I couldn't have done that for myself. Thank you so much. So I probably quite like the pats on the back and the recognition.
I love it. Awesome. All right. Without further ado, shall we move on to the teaching side of things? Show us what you've got for us today, Ash.
Absolutely. I would be delighted to do just that. So let me fire up my slides, and you can probably see me here, and I will make myself a little bit smaller. Let's jump on this slide here. Let me make myself a little bit smaller so that you can see the content and not just my face. So, Tina, you've already given me the best introduction in the world, so I will scoot through this as quick as I can. And I just wanted to say that if you feel I'm going through this a little bit quick, there's always an option to watch the video back so that you can see the actual clicks that I'm doing. So I'm not going to explain all of the clicks that I'm doing in real time, because I think for some people it might be useful, but for a lot of people they might not want to see it. So Pimp My Slides is all about high performing presentations that convert, influence, and win new business with me, Ash Pemberton, and this is a new title, PowerPoint Millionaire. I like it because it shows off that we've done 1 million slides. That happened only a couple of months ago that we actually hit that milestone. But what is massively important is that when you get your slides right, and that's what we've been doing for my clients, it enables them to win, and I'm saying literally tens of millions of pounds, euros, and dollars worth of new business. And now my agency, which I'm extremely proud of, it's probably my greatest achievement to set that up, kind of runs without me. You know, a lot of the time when I turn up at the office, they look at me and go, oh, what are you doing here? So that was that's something that I've been especially proud of. So let's now go into the course. What I would like to talk to you about today is part A, which is online course creator essential knowledge for delivering e-learning. So I put this together specifically for you guys. And then what I thought would be especially useful is, even if you're not an advanced PowerPoint designer, or you know, if you're just starting out, in section B, I'm going to talk about using world-class images, and I'm going to give you a fast track to sourcing and designing with these images. So even if you're not going to, you know, not going to do anything else, I think you could use that knowledge or those websites that I'm going to show you independently of anything else. So by the end of this session, in section A, you will know the 3 basic learner types and how to set learning objectives. You will know signposting, all about signposting workshop activities and how to apply them. And I'm going to show you how to reveal bullets, and I'm going to show you 8 alternatives to boring bullet points. Okay, so I've just realized now we're presenting on Zoom, my reveals don't work. So we may need to break out into PowerPoint for me to show you the reveals. But there are basically 3 types of learner. The visual learner learns best by seeing. They respond best to graphics and videos, and they particularly like watching actions. The auditory learner learns best by hearing. They respond best to spoken instructions, and they like repeating things out loud. And then we have the Kinesthetic Learner, and I'll move my head a little just so you can see my words. They learn best by feeling, they respond best to doing and sensing, and they particularly like tactile tasks. So the subheading there is, which one are you? And probably you are a mix of all three. So my takeaway here for course creators is make sure that you incorporate these three different types of learnings. Consider that people are different in the way that they pick up information, and try and cater for all three.
Question here.
Sure.
Can you go back one slide, please?
I can,
the
yes.
kinesthetic. Awesome, thanks. The third option, the kinesthetic people, how do you speak to them in the presentation? Because maybe it's on Zoom, like, no, you can't touch them, you can't really, you don't have that, you don't really can't see them doing things. Like, how do you do that in a virtual presentation?
Very good question. So now we're virtual, I would say that feeling could also be emotional. So touch them emotionally, give them a real life case study, give them a task. Now, I heard about this task from a management consultant, and I thought this was brilliant. He stopped everyone on the course and said, run to the kitchen and pick up one object, any object, and come back within 15 seconds. So everyone was at home and they did just that. And then they held up the object that they picked, like frying pans or wooden spoons. And he pieced together some learning or some story based on what they'd picked and what they'd selected. So that was tactile. It took them away from the screen. It made them remember that they were kind of like real life people. And it just added some dimension as to not just staring at a screen and going through slide after slide. So that's just one example.
Amazing. Thanks.
Pleasure. So learning objectives. What are they? They are short, clear, specific statements. They are what the learner will be able to achieve or do at the end of a lesson. And they are a result of the teaching that's taken place. And why do we use them? We use them because it really defines the learning outcome. It would help me focus on my teaching, and it would help prioritize the learning. So some example wording that I've used in this presentation is, by the end of this session, you will know ... and then tell them exactly what they know. So this is a nice little activity that I've taken from a workshop I designed recently. There were 4 basic types of learning, or 4 basic types of activity being repeated. So you were either listening, learning, using what you know, or sharing what you know. And by using a recognizable, repeatable format, it encourages the audience to be proactive with the learning. So let me just quickly now show you how we set this up. So these are just blank PowerPoint slides with the words listen, learn, use, or share. And we set them up as a template. And obviously we populated these slides. These are just blank ones to show you how they looked. And the reason why this works well is if you're on a listen slide, you're less likely to put your hand up and start talking or want to share your knowledge or ask questions. And these repeatable formats just help you communicate your information, but more than that, it helps the learner navigate and understand where they are and what they should be doing. So I strongly recommend, it doesn't have to be these 4, but break your learning up into chunks, break your workshop activities into chunks, make them clear and repeat them so that they're recognizable. I've now moved into full screen mode to give you a short demonstration on revealing bullets. This is sometimes called progressive disclosure. It's all about drawing attention to single points one at a time. It's a very efficient way to communicate and a really good way to keep your audience listening to you and to stop them reading ahead. It's easier to follow and therefore easier to remember. It's visually quite pleasing and it shows you're well organized and well structured with your delivery. Now, my takeaway here really is to keep your animation simple, so not to distract your audience, PowerPoint is absolutely loaded with some quite flamboyant animations. But as you can see, I've chosen a very simple fade in and gray out as we move around the points. I'm now going to show you or present to you 8 alternatives to just boring bullet points, lists of bullet points. There are so many different ways that you can keep people interested, but also have it more visually pleasing, have your design more visually pleasing. So number 1 is to use highlights. This is a really simple idea that anyone can do with a couple of clicks. You put keywords in caps, you use a different font color, you use a heavier, bolder font, or you can see on the other side, you just use like a fake highlighter. And again, most presentation packages like PowerPoint come with that option. So it's very quick and simple and easy to do. Number 2 is called, well, what I call the split and box. So here, we're just putting 3 bullet points in 3 colored shapes that fit in with your design template. So if, you know, here I'm using curved edge rectangular boxes, but your design, your brand might be circles or it might be squares. It really doesn't matter, but pick the colors that fit in with your brand and then split and box your bullet points. Number 3 might sound incredibly simple, but is a numbered list. And I've just put a couple of different versions so you can see how I would do it. Putting a number in a circle is a very simple trick, and then dividing them with a thin key line just makes it very easy to digest. Another option would be to use a bigger number, and these are just like design options, and use a tint of the main color that you're using. And it just allows people to very quickly and easily scan through your points. And again, it's a nice alternative to just a regular bullet. Number 4 is iconify. So one-page websites, presentations, everyone kind of goes crazy for icons. You can see that I've pulled out icons that represent the keyword there. Here I'd just like to share with you one thing. The word icon comes from iconic. It needs to be iconic. If your icon doesn't communicate what you're trying to say quickly, then it's confusing and you're adding no value. Sure, they look nice, but if they're not adding any communication, then I'd say don't use them. And my tip here is to think of like a road sign. If you're driving your car and you see a road sign, that has to communicate to you instantly. If it takes you 10 seconds and you're staring at that road sign, you're going to crash your car. So think of an icon as the same sort of purpose, to just quickly and easily communicate something and then repeat them so that people know. You know, once they've seen it and they see it again, that's when icons work best. Number 5 is brochure style copy. So a little bit harder to do this. This is kind of more advanced design tricks. But the essence of what I'm trying to show you here is that I've used the icons from the previous page. I've used a selection of different fonts and weights. I've even used my my highlighting trick, but I've divided this up on this one over a 2-column grid, and I've used the text to wrap over the columns. And then here I've used a 3-column grid, and the initial paragraph spreads over 2, and then the bullets spread over 1 column each. And it's just about trying to present something with a little bit more flair and a little bit more design. So we call this brochure style copy, and it's really for more advanced designers. Otherwise, you could find yourself trying to make this look good and spending hours working on it and then being unhappy with it. So that's number 5. Number 6 is easy, and it's classic. It's a classic layout. And here we just use vertical strips of color. We put our text into those vertical strips. And then on occasions, you will pull out the headline. So pull out the keyword or the title and put that in a darker color or a heavier font so that the viewer has the option of just reading the headlines, or if that headline is important to them, they can dive into more detail. Number 7 is a table grid. And again, PowerPoint does this really well automatically for you. So it's just like insert table. The times to use this are if you have a lot of text or a lot of words and you need them all to line up. Use a table. Don't try and manually align your text boxes. It will take you forever. You can see here that one trick to make the table read well is that we've done alternate colored stripes so that you can very quickly and easily see. And we've used quite a heavy colored key line. On the other side, I've used like a graduation of colors. So there's just a couple of different options to help the table be easy on the eye and help you read the information and separate the information. Number 8 is quotes. So exactly, I've used the same copy for everything here, but I just made these be like their quotes, like someone's saying. So here I've put circles on an image, and I've just had a play with 3 different ways of using a speech mark just to show people it's a quote. And then on the other side, I pulled out some people and given them speech bubbles. And it's just really trying to present information in a slightly different way and trying to make it a little bit more interesting. So they were my 8. But one thing that I wanted to really share with the audience is Microsoft PowerPoint comes with a feature called Smart Art. It is a fast track to designing charts, infographics. It's really simple and easy to use. It has a feature on it where, depending on the amount of typing that you put into a box, it scales it automatically. It's, you know, if you didn't need 4 circles, you only need 3. You would click the 4th, delete it, and it will automatically align everything for you. So I'd say if you find it hard to create your own graphics, have a play with Smart Art. It's got loads of pre-packed features, and it's a really kind of easy way to start creating your own infographics. So there we go. That's the end of part A. And let's dive straight into B, which is all about world-class images and sourcing and designing with them. So by the end of this section, you will know all about copyright law, only really what you need to know and my take on that. I'm then going to show you some of the world's best image banks that I've been using for tens of years. And I'm going to show you exactly how I use them and what I think they're really good for. And then we're going to take the images that we've extracted from those image banks, and I'm going to design you live a killer front cover. That's my term. It just means like a brilliant front cover that when you put that front cover in front of people, they're like, yeah, I want to see the rest of the presentation. And we're going to do that in less than 5 minutes. I'm going to give you a few different design options in less than 5 minutes. So before we do, let's talk a little bit about copyright. I'm actually going to read this to you because this is the law. Under the Federal Copyright Act of 1976, photographs are protected by copyright from the moment of creation. So as soon as you snap that shutter, they are protected by copyright. The owner of the work is generally the photographer, or in certain situations, the employer of that photographer. So my takeaway here is, if you need to have complete control over copyright, take that image yourself and it belongs to you and it's forever yours. But what happens? What is the worst case? Here's the copyright police. What happens if you are infringing copyright law? What do you need to know? Well, this is it in a nutshell. If you commercially profited, and I've highlighted those words because this is the point. If you have actually gained business and made money from that image, then that is an infringement. If you have not commercially profited, these do not apply. So if you have, then you will have to pay, again, if you are caught, you will have to pay monetary damages. They can stop you using that, and they can even force you to destroy the materials that you have created using those images. So just bear that in mind. And now I'm going to tell you my solution to it. So this is a fun little cartoon, and this is not just my take on copyright. This is how I feel about design. I don't really consider myself to be an artist. I'm like a speed business designer. I like to get things done and get them right. So I'm going to change the word artist to designer, right? All good designers copy. All great designers steal. And for everyone else, they're scared, and they're scared of copyright law, and they're scared to do that. So my first takeaway here is don't be afraid to steal shamelessly. This is my take. All designers, if they're given a design brief, hit the internet, start searching, find design inspiration, find something that fits the bill, and then they tweak. And this is the skill of design. They tweak and they adapt it to fit their needs and their design briefs. But don't be afraid to go into something like Pinterest, which is amazing for getting inspiration. Find something that you think is absolutely brilliant and then adapt it to your needs. So that's what I consider to be stealing other people's work, and do it shamelessly. Number two is there's a time to use the world's best images. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do them and where to find them. Here, you may well need to add a source. And at times you may need to contact the artist to ask for permission to use their images if you are intending to commercially benefit from that image. Where you are publishing and making money and doing business, please use either a paid for or a royalty-free image. So yeah, if there's a commercial use, that's when you need to do that. So let me tell you where there isn't a commercial use. If I'm doing a presentation to a handful of people, I'm not publishing, I'm not printing, I'm not putting it on the web, I'm not leaving it with them. You can use any image you like. That is not commercial use and it's not being published. But if, for instance, we're doing an online course which you're intending to sell, then yeah, be careful, don't use other people's copyright. So here we go. At this point, I'm actually going to break out and I'm going to share my screen with you, and we're going to do some hands-on searching in different libraries. But before we do that, let me just quickly explain what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to take you to the world's 5 best image banks, in my opinion. And I'm going to tell you exactly what they're good for. So they are going to be Google Images, which is particularly good for large images, really good quality, and for a search term called Wallpapers, which has seen me with some amazing designs that have blown away clients, and they've said, how have you done this? Where have you found this? It looks like you spent hours designing it. I haven't. I've searched for a wallpaper. So I'm going to show you exactly all about that. Then we're going to go into Getty Images, which has the world's best image search engine. It is by far the best library and has been so for 20 years. I'm going to tell you about their composition downloads. It's a really amazing, sneaky little thing that you can do to use the world's best images. Then we're going to go into Unsplash, which is one of my recent favorites and one that I think everyone here will find extremely useful to use because their images are free to use. They're completely free image library that you can use for commercial gain. Then we're going to go into Deviantart, which is abstract. Like you find some weird stuff in there, non-corporate, and I'll show you exactly what you can find. There's a lot of nudity, there's a lot of weird stuff. There's what I call fan art, so non-corporate, non-stock images. And then finally, I'm going to take you into a website called Noun Project, which is without doubt the world's best resource for icons, sorting icons. Now, to keep it consistent when I'm showing you these 5, I'm going to be searching for Heineken. Heineken's a massive client of mine for the last 10 years. I've done so many web searches for their bottles, their contents, their designs. So I'm going to use Heineken as my example so you can see how or what you would get from each of these 5 by searching for Heineken. I'm now going to be just doing my screen share and taking you in and out of all of these libraries and searching for Heineken. So let's start with Google Images. So if I was to do a search for Heineken, you will see in Google Images, I get a lot of branded bottles, products, shots, and a really nice selection. What I want to do is I want to show you this one really useful element of Google image search. And under tools, you will get to search by size. And at the moment, it defaults to any size. What I'm going to do is I'm only going to search for large images. So these are now images that are going to be good quality, high resolution, large in size. and it's going to stop that frustration of finding an image and then putting it into your presentation and going, oh, it's really bad quality or it's really small size. So that's my first tip, to always search for images that are large. So within here, another thing that Google Images is especially good for is searching for logos. So I'm going to click into the Heineken logo. And I'm going to save that image as the Heineken logo. And I can see that that's saved as a PNG image. PNG is a portable network graphic. And what that allows you to do is have a transparent background. So now, without any doubt, this is going to be my page for Google Images. And I'm going to go to my downloads folder. Ah, it's not there. Here we go. Go in folder. Where did that download to? Ah, downloaded to my course creators folder. That's good. And I'm going to drop that in. And you can see here that I've got a really nice, because I use the search term for large, I'm only searching for large images, a really good quality Heineken logo. I know that when I'm presenting to Heineken, actually, that's not quite the right logo. I would want to present using this logo, which is their corporate logo. So I'm just going to click in to this one here. And I'm going to select, you can see here that there's, in fact, this is a really nice website as well that I found through Google Images. Click into Heineken, and then here I've got an option to download as an SVG. That's a scalable vector graphic, and there is no better quality graphic for a logo than that. So let's show that in my folder too, and I'm going to drop that one in. So again, it's a massive size. Like, I probably would never use it at that size, but it just means that I've got really good quality logos. The other search that I wanted to show you within Google is the term wallpaper. So you can use this for any brand or anything at all, but follow up your keyword with the word wallpaper. Make sure you're doing a large image search, and you can see now that what we've got are, I mean, wallpapers, just in case you didn't know, are like the type of thing that you would save as your background screen on your computer. The reason why I love them is because brilliant designers from all over the world have spent hours, if not days, in Photoshop, putting all these images together. And just by using the search term wallpaper and searching for a large image, you can steal their work and use it for yourself. And I mean, I have literally blown clients away with some of the design of these wallpapers, and they've just thought, oh, this is amazing. You've done it so brilliantly. It's like a 10-second search to find something like this. So instantly, I quite like this one. And the reason why I like it is just the detail on those bubbles, and the fact that it gives me a nice dark area to the side that I can add some copy to. So I'm going to copy that image, and I'm just going to paste that into my PowerPoint slide. And instantly you can see by the size of that image, that is a good quality image. So that's number one. That's what Google Images are really, really good for. Transparent logos. Just bring that to the front so you can see transparent logos that you can lay over the top, and wallpapers. So now number two is Getty Images. Let's just fire that up. So if I do my search term, let's keep it consistent, Heineken. If I search for Heineken in Getty, instantly, probably you wouldn't expect to see this, but instantly what I've got now are horse racing and rugby images. Now that's because Heineken sponsor horse racing and rugby. And it's instantly taken me to Editorial Images. So these are professional photographs taken by paid for photographers that are selling them to news wires and selling them to newspapers and news sources. Stay away from Editorial Images. They are a copyright nightmare. You will get picked up on them straight away. They use quite sophisticated search engines to track these images. So in Getty Images, never search for editorial, always go into creative. So now I've just told you this is the world's best search engine, and it's given me one Heineken image and 4 or 5 that are just absolutely rubbish. That's because Getty doesn't work very well for brands. what it does work brilliantly for are really specific requests. So when I was designing for Heineken, I would need like a couple, so a man and a woman over 25, enjoying themselves, drinking from a bottle in a pub or in a bar. And that's a really specific image. And there's not many image libraries in the world that can find something like that, but Getty can. And you can probably see I've done this search a few times. But let me just click onto this one. So I'm searching now for a couple drinking beer that are happy, and it doesn't do brands, remember that. So I've searched for a green bottle, but these
That's awesome.
Yeah, these look for the type of images that you could use in a presentation that really tell a story. You know, you can really get exactly what you need by using Getty. It's by far the world's best image bank. So, I mean, this one appeals to me. It's the first one on there. Now you can see that it's got a watermark and it's got an image number. And there's an option here to download a comp. So I'm going to do just that. And now I'm going to explain to you what a comp is. And I'm going to do that with this little hyperlink that I set up. So this is going to their terms and conditions. Downloading a comp, which is just an image composition. It says you're welcome to use our images free of charge in your work in progress projects. So designers can use them and kind of like present them to clients and say, oh, if you like this image and you want to go ahead, then we need to purchase it. It will cost you thousands of pounds to purchase Getty Images for exclusive use. But that's not what we're doing. What we get is we get 30 days from the date of download that we can use them for ourselves. So you can constantly find really beautiful, very specific images and use them in your presentations for 30 days completely legally. So that is my best tip for you. And now, when I've downloaded that image, let me just check where that went to. That should have gone to my downloads. It did. And let me drop that into my presentation on the Getty folder, on the Getty page rather. So here we go. What they only, unlike Google, this only gives me 72 DPI. So the human eye sees at 72 DPI, and you will see when I make that larger, it's pixelated. Sorry, the human eye doesn't see at 72 DPI. Your screen resolution is 72 DPI. It's pixelated and it's got the watermark and the image number. I've downloaded, I'm allowed to use this image for 30 days from the date of download. And here's my tip to you. Let's come out of there. Now increase the size of my zoom on my screen. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a screen grab of that exact image as best I can, fit it all in, take a screen grab, and now I'm going to paste that in. And you can see that now I've got a version of that image, which legally I'm allowed to use, but without the watermark and without the image number. So that has just saved me like an hour of advanced Photoshop skills to get rid of that. And I can use this image free for 30 days. So that's why I would suggest you use Getty.
How are you allowed to use this now, not having the watermark on?
I will put a reference in and source it to Getty with its name and its image number. And that's why. Because I've downloaded it and I've referenced it with my source, and I'm not commercially publishing it or gaining profits from it, I can use it as a positional, as a composition for 30 days.
Interesting.
Okay, next up is Unsplash. Unsplash was actually presented to me by a client about 3 years ago, and now I use it all the time. It's very good for like scene setting photographs. You're not going to get a couple being happy, drinking beer outdoors. You're not going to get anything like that in the search. It's a lot more limited than something as advanced as Getty. But the difference being, I mean, this one's quite nice if I wanted a Heineken backdrop. So I'm going to download that. And this is one of the really nice features of Unsplash. So I can now copy that. Basically, this is the copyright that I need to copy, and it makes it very easy for me to use it. I'm going to go into PowerPoint, and I'm going to add that text here, and I would just put my source in here. So the source is here. These are hyperlinked to the artist that took the photo and to the website that I took it from. And now I have in my downloads folder a really nice large image that I can publish and that I can benefit from commercially. So that's where Unsplash really, really kind of wins for me, that you can actually use these images anywhere you like. Next up is Deviantart. Deviantart, I think, has been going about 10 years, and it really is like a place for artists to host their work. But it also does quite well on branded searches. So there's my search term again, Heineken. And you can see what I get here. I mean, this is probably the best example that I can give you. This is off-brand. This is weird. It's wacky. Heineken themselves would hate to see this image. Their brand manager would absolutely hate to see this, but this is a really nice example of what you get on Deviantart. This is what I call fan art. You know, it's unusual, it's wacky stuff. So let me view them all just while I take that image into Deviantart. So again, that's a pretty nice size. Let's show you a better example of something that's actually quite usable. Okay, here's a relatively good example. He's wearing a pair of Converse. He's got a crushed Heineken can. There's no way that you'd get an image like that on a stock photograph. It's, you know, even the treatment of it is odd. I actually don't like it enough to use it, so I'm not going to take it. But maybe this one looks good. So here we've got the official bottle, the official beer, but it's shot in a really weird way. They probably wouldn't want an ashtray or a coffee mug, you know, if it was like a real brand image. But this is real life imagery. You know, this is how it looks in real life. So this is where Deviantart really excels. So I'm going to copy that image too, and I'm going to paste it in. And actually, I did find images using Deviantart that my client really loved. And this is where you would need to contact the artist. So let's say you put it into your presentation, you start using it, and your client or yourself decides that you absolutely love this image and you want to now use it commercially. Here, you would have to contact the artist, and there's always a link to do that. So you can send the artist a note and say, I'm using your image in a presentation, and potentially you might have to negotiate with them if you think it's the image, like the absolute killer image that you simply must have. Okay, finally, we've got Noun Project. So I think 8 years I've been using Noun Project, and I think it served me so well and impressed my clients unbelievably, because it looks like you've spent hours searching for icons, but it's such an impressive icon library. So again, let's keep it consistent. I'm going to search for Heineken. And you can see what it does now is it's not great, a bit like Getty, it's not great on brand names. But that is about as close to a Heineken bottle. It's got the iconic red star, which Heineken use. But I know from experience that I shouldn't be searching for brand names. What I'm actually going to search for is a beer bottle. Let's do that one first, beer bottle. And I get loads of different icons. Loads of different beer bottles. I mean, the selection is quite unbelievable, but I want something that really looks like Heineken. So you can see I've done this search before. I'm going to search for a beer bottle with a red star. Let's search for that. And there we go. I found it. This is, for me, the most iconic version of a Heineken beer bottle that I could find. So this is where I want to show you some really useful things with Noun Project. I choose to get this icon. I haven't even logged in. I think possibly you can do the basic downloads even without logging in. There's no fee for this. It's a Creative Commons license, so I can use them. And I'm going to download, and it gives me two options. One is the PNG and one is the SVG. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to download them both, and I'm going to show you the difference between the two and show you how you can quickly use them. So let's go into my downloads folder, and there they are, the two different bottles. I'm going to bring them in. Now, because I've done this many times, I know instantly that that is my PNG. And if I wanted to start working with that or get rid of the name, I'd have to crop that like you would normally crop a picture. I can then duplicate that, and just like you would a picture, you can apply some artistic effects to it very quickly in PowerPoint, and you could even recolor it, but you're fairly limited. You know, it's just like putting a color filter over the top of your graphics. So it doesn't give you complete freedom to use this and to recolor it, but it's not bad. Now, this is the SVG. This is Scalable Vector Graphic. What a vector graphic means is you can print this the size of a house and it will never lose resolution. Whereas this one, let's zoom right in. You can see that it's already starting to get pixelated on the edges. That's a PNG. It's not meant to be vector. That's the key word there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ungroup this and ungroup it again in PowerPoint. And what that does is it now turns that into PowerPoint objects. I'm going to regroup it because I've taken out the text. And this is it. This is my scalable graphic, which will be absolutely brilliant quality no matter what I do with it. Now here, these are now saved as PowerPoint shapes. I ungroup them to be PowerPoint shapes. And here, what I'm allowed to do here is recolor this to absolutely any color. I have complete control over this graphic. So for instance, if I wanted to turn it, let's say green with a red star, I could do exactly that. And already we're starting to look like we've got something that looks like Heineken. So now in 5 minutes or less, in fact, way under 5 minutes, I'm going to show you how I would actually apply what I've downloaded and produce a really nice, well, more than really nice, a killer front cover. So I'm going to start with just a blank piece of paper. I'm going to pick up my Getty image. Sorry, that's my Google wallpaper image. Let's get that right. I'm going to paste that in. Again, because I did the large image search, I know that this is going to be able to scale. It didn't quite fit my page, so I'm going to crop it, and I'm just going to choose my crop just to keep the red star at the top and not crop out any of the attention, the detail that I'd want. I'm then going to take my copy, in which case this is going to be killer images. Where's that? Here we go. How to design a killer cover. That's going to be my my copy for this. So I'm going to paste that in. I'm probably going to color the text white. I may even want to just highlight the text with one of the tricks that we were showing before, and I'm going to do that with an eyedropper. So I'm just going to quickly pick the actual Heineken green. Let's pick it like a slightly lighter one. I don't want it to be too dark because it's on a black background. That looks good. So how to design a killer front cover in 5 minutes or less. And I would want to use the Heineken logo. I'm going to present to the Heineken corporate team, so I'm using the corporate logo. Now, this one, for me, doesn't quite work. That Heineken logo isn't the best because it's quite a dark logo on a dark background. So in this case, I would go back to my Google Images, and I'd do Heineken corporate logo in white. And although you can't see it, because I'm used to this, I can tell you that that is the Heineken logo, but it was white on white, so you couldn't see it. And I know that because of its title. It's a PNG transparency. So where you see logos in Google that have this checkered white background, that means that they're a transparent background. So I can just copy that image, I can paste it into PowerPoint, and I get a white version of the Heineken logo, which I prefer for this particular cover. So that's just one option. Let me now do another blank slide, and let's use this one from Getty. Now here I've got my couple looking very happy. Again, it doesn't perfectly fit, so I need to do a little bit of manual cropping. And oh, I've just cropped his head out there. That just bothers me. I'll probably keep his head in. I think that's better. Now, when I take my text, this text isn't going to sit so well as the other one. You know, you can't read that. So that's not working for me. So one trick that I want to show you is to just use a transparent underlay for images. So I'm going to fill this dark black with no outline, and I'm going to just format my shape to be a transparency, probably, you know, sort of like 30%. Have a look, about 34 I did, 34%. I'm then going to bring my text to the front and then going to color it white. Probably I wouldn't want it to lay over her face. But that now jumps out. I can read that perfectly well. And again, I'd probably use the white logo and paste that one in. And that could either go in here, but I think it would work quite well in that top corner because there's a nice bit of room there. So again, that's another really nice front cover designed in sort of record time. Same thing applies for this one. I'm not going to use the guy shooting his own head because I know that my client would totally hate that. So I'm going to just make that fit. Now, sometimes you shouldn't be squashing images. They need to keep their exact shape. But on this one, I know I'm going to get away with it. Just squash it in a little bit. It really doesn't matter because the photograph, you know, you could get away with that. And again, probably use a transparent overlay here. Probably better to do that on this side. The other option that I could show you is to turn this one white and the text dark green. Maybe doesn't quite stick out enough. Maybe stick to black. Push it down out the way of the bottle. Could even maybe turn that one to red to make the text really pop. And the Heineken logo in the bottom. And again, we've got 3 covers done really quickly. And the final one that I want to show you is using the icons, because this is a really nice designer trick. So I'm going to take the black icon. And before I start, I'm going to put a green background with a dark Heineken green and no outline. Then I'm going to paste in my beer bottle, and I'm also going to turn that the same green so you can't see it. And this is just a real quick trick. What you can do is just go, let's change that color manually. And I only want it to just be slightly different. And there you can see what I've got now is a beer bottle, just slightly offset. And I'm going to turn that to the Heineken red. Let's find me a nice red. That's quite like Heineken. That one looks a bit closer. And this is another kind of designer trick. Let's just put it at an angle. Let's expand the shape of it so it bleeds off the page a bit. And if you look down into this corner here, let's quickly zoom up on this. This is actually how my slide will look. But I'm using just like a trick to bleed it off the page to make it look quite iconic. So let me just reduce that a little. I'm going to take my copy and the white logo again. I'm going to drop that in there. I think maybe that's where I need the red text as well. Let's put the Heineken logo. Oops, excuse me. Put the Heineken logo in the cover. And there we go. So in definitely 5 minutes or less, I hope, it shouldn't have been much more. I've now got a selection of really nice branded covers that look like it would have taken me hours to do, but they're just quick and easy. And yeah, it's like a nice selection that I could present to a client and be, you know, pretty content that they would like to at least pick one of them. So there we go. That is my hands-on screen share. And yeah, I hope you found some useful hints and tips in there.
Very amazing. Thank you so much for sharing this. I've got a few questions for you.
Sure.
Have you ever been sued because you've used images and you just violated copyright?
No. Truthfully, no. 25 years of stealing images and I've never been picked up on it. And I've always been quite careful. So I do have a subscription to something called iStock, which is it's actually owned by Getty, but it's a discount version of Getty. With certain clients, when they've fallen in love with images that I found from Getty and used as a composition free of charge, they've had to buy them, and that's cost them thousands of pounds. But if you're a big corporate, that's what you have to do. So no, never been caught for copyright infringement, but have always taken necessary steps when I know it's going to be published. But my trick, and probably the secret of my success, is to use that download composition from Getty, impress people with the world's best images, really beautiful images, and then after 30 days, it's a presentation, so it's disposable.
Amazing. In our world, I'm very surprised about, I never use PowerPoint, right? And I learned a lot of things, and I see how many things are possible. In our world, many people use Canva. So why would you recommend PowerPoint over Canva?
Just for control, just for having complete control. If you're a newbie and you want to get something done quickly and you're not a designer, Canva for sure. Why not? Because it's all done for you. But if you're designing and you want complete control over it, and you want to be able to customize it, and this is the case for me, believe me, that's why I don't use Prezi, because people would say, oh, it's beautiful, but can you now just change that? And it's like, no, so that's like a default setting. But PowerPoint is completely customizable. You can do exactly what you want. So that's why we do that.
Awesome. How much should someone write on the slides versus speaking? Like, what's the ratio there? Like, there's some presentations you see where people just have clunks of text on the slides and they just read it all off, versus some other people barely have any text, so they talk so much that, you know, you can't really follow anymore. What did he say now? Like, what's the nice ratio there?
It depends on you as an individual. It really does. But I would suggest don't use too much text. So in my demonstration, I showed you about brochure copy. Now, there's a time and a place for brochure copy. You know, you're going to need to explain some things in full, but do them as an appendix. That's not really a slide. It's not really a presentation. That's like a document. It's like a supporting document. So what I'd say is keep your slides minimal. If you want to be as dynamic as Steve Jobs, use one word and a really dynamic image. And, you know, we've looked at how to source these type of images. Present that way, and then leave behind or offer an appendix which has all your wording in it. But yeah, less is more for me with bullet points than with copy.
Amazing. We saw your face before in the screen. What do you think about during a webinar, or during a, you know, yeah, let's take a webinar, for example. What do you think is better, to show your face or not to show your face? Some people say it's distracting to have someone in the corner there talking. Some other people say it's necessary so you can keep the connection and can keep people engaged. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so I haven't done it very well today, but if you're going to show your face, you need to look down the camera and you need to maintain eye contact. And that is not an easy skill to do, because I'm so tempted to be looking at my screen now, and I'm not. I'm looking down the camera, which means absolutely nothing to me. You know, I can't look at my presentation. I can't see your eyes, but I know that this is a much more engaging way for me to talk to my audience. So I would say develop that skill. So now I've looked away, you can probably see the difference. What I actually used to do was put a little, either a circle or a little post-it note on my camera and say, remember to look at the camera. So if you've got that skill, I would say definitely keep your head on the screen and definitely use that, because that's how you have compelling communication. The other option is, if you don't like that, or you feel that you need to be, you know, jumping around your screens and reading your bullet points and reading your notes, I'd suggest turn your video on and have a conversation at the start where you do exactly that, and then excuse yourself and say, right, now I'm going to be doing a screen share. Now I'm going to turn my camera off. But I think it's very important to at least have that connection at some point, ideally at the start.
Awesome.
Yeah, but I'm a fan of the floating head. I like this. You know, this is a relatively new feature that Zoom's introduced. I think in the next 3 to 5 years, this technology is going to explode. Like, the future of presenting It's going to be so collaborative. Everyone's going to be able to action things at the same time. And, you know, for me, it's really exciting because this is my passion. This is my business. So, you know, for me, yeah, everyone should be involved. Equal share of voice, equal screen time, ability to contribute. And I know a lot of people that actually have benefited way more from virtual presentations, because when they were in a boardroom, they would be sat, you know, far away from the CEO as possible. And they've got you know, there's overpowering characters that are there with animated arms and loud booming voices. And there's someone that's just like not given any share of time or voice in an actual real meeting, but now they're on a virtual meeting. It's like an even platform. So I'd suggest it could work quite well for you.
Amazing. Here's the $1 million question for you.
Oh, baby, here we go.
Color psychology, yeah? Which color makes people trust you and click on that damn button?
Yeah. Well, I'm slightly different. I have a different answer. I mean, you can Google that and find that out, but that's not really how I believe in it. You know, there are sciences behind logos. I'm not a logo designer, but I've worked with quite a lot, and I've designed a few in my time. And you can easily Google and get the science behind all the different colors and how they relate to you. But probably the most useful thing that I've stolen from a DC about that call to action button is it needs to be unique, and it needs to be bright, and it can't be used anywhere else. So as long as it's different, as long as it stands out, I would say that's right. So that would be my answer to that one.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Right. Before we wrap up, Ash, what is your one actionable piece of advice for audience out there who are looking to pimp their slides, their webinar slides, their online course slides? Where should they go right now? Like once they click off this presentation, because guys, the most amazing content out there doesn't help you if you don't take any action. So Ash, what is the one actionable piece of advice you would say? Where do people start right now once they click off here in pimping their slides?
Sure. I would say well, my number one was steal shamelessly. So get online, start searching for things that really inspire you. Look for really beautiful materials that are not quite right, or maybe they're adapted to a different industry or a different market. Find that inspirational design and then adapt it into your needs, because that's what great designers do. And a really good place to start is Pinterest. It has really phenomenal collections of beautiful design. You know, it has everything from vintage posters, wallpapers, has branded designs, it has a really good search engine. Even if you were to type in like online workshop course in Pinterest, you'd get thousands of design inspiration. So I'd say start there, find something you love, and then recreate it to fit your need.
Amazing. I love it. Awesome. Would you like to tell our audience about your Summit Secrets bonus?
Yeah, my bonus freebie is an amazing collection of icons that have been downloaded and are customizable and are free for you to just easily cut and paste into your presentations and your workshops. And they've been specifically designed to cover all the subjects and topics that you would need when you're creating courses. So it's a free downloadable PowerPoint file packed full of really useful graphics and icons.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Guys, take advantage of that. Click the button below. Make sure you get started right away. You'll be glad you did. All right. Thank you so much, Ash. This has been absolutely insightful. You know, many great tips and tricks there. Thank you so much for the very actionable session, which I loved so much. Thank you for sharing your expertise today with us.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you so much, dear course creator out there. Thank you so much for hanging out with Ash and myself. My name is Tina Dahmen, your host here on Online Course Talks. And remember, you're just one course away to change someone else's life, and certainly your very, very own.